Wow, Donald Trump just crashed Bitcoin. We had a little fake out as high as $88,000 before immediately plummeting, now down to 84. This, of course, is a direct response to Trump today announcing the implementation of reciprocal tariffs on all countries.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that.
Let's talk about what this means for Bitcoin long term. And look at this. Everybody trading on exchange partner Bitunex. We're going to go right on over to indicator. We're going to type in volume profile visible range. There's a link down below to follow along. And this represents all the transactions, all the volume for Bitcoin in this price range with a massive resistance at $96,000. Watch today's whole video. We'll go over all of this because it's interesting that the Trump family is still signaling the long-term value of Bitcoin.
When you look at the crypto, kind of world, it's going to revolutionize finance, and Bitcoin is going to be the greatest store of value. I just have no doubt in my mind about that because it has so many advantages.
Now, this is not just the United States adopting Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin adoption globally.
You go around the world, everybody is doing it. Every single sophisticated country is using their excess power to mine Bitcoin. And so there really is a race to the finish. But we've got a great competitive advantage as the United States of America. We've got the best energy policies. We've got some of the lowest energy costs anyway. And I think we can harness that. And I think America needs to lead the way in terms of this kind of financial revolution. And that's part of what I plan to do.
And the institutional accumulation continues growing. Bitcoin ETFs around the world now hodl 1.3 million Bitcoin, or 6.2% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. 2 years ago, institutions held 0 Bitcoin. Now they're up to 6.2%. Do we think this number is growing smaller or growing bigger of institutional accumulation, say, in the next 5 years? And with 2 big cryptocurrency bills in Congress that now focus on altcoins that Trump aims to sign by August, founder of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, explains just how big that is.
There's 2 bills that are currently being discussed in the House and Senate. The one that's most likely to pass in the next 60 to 90 days is the stablecoin bill. And then the second one's the market structure bill. Once those 2 bills pass, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook are going to say, hey, we're crypto people now. And so they're going to put wallets in their platforms because they can capture an enormous amount of the market. When you add their user bases of 3 billion people, and when they have those 3 billion users, it's like they have cryptocurrency wallets right in Windows, right in Facebook, right in your cell phone apps, right in iOS. And because they now can legally hold stablecoins and use stablecoins, they're going to do it because they don't like paying the processing fees on credit cards. So they'll issue their own stablecoins or partner with people to do that. And they have feeless transactions inside the system. And then suddenly these tech companies become financial service providers. And they have so much money and so much power that they'll push through. Once that's there and you have a good regulatory regime, it's very easy then to click a button to create yield products on top of that. So that's what's going to bring the value flow in because the users already are wired into that system. Their money's already there. Their credit cards are already there. Their purchase power is already there. And there's just too much temptation not to do that. And the competitive equilibria are such that they have to do that. Once these 2 bills pass, that opens the floodgates, and that's 3 billion people that enter in.
And we're already seeing financial companies prepare for this pro-crypto future. By the way, Altcoin Daily drops 1 video per day, keeping you informed about crypto. Click subscribe if you want an edge investing. And the news today is this. PayPal adds Solana and Chainlink for their 200 million plus US users. Now, this is just being reported. I'm waiting confirmation from the source, but we do already know that PayPal already offers Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash as investable products, which you can buy on PayPal. They already offer that. It would make sense that Solana and Chainlink are tapped for next. And this is only for their customers in the US and US territories, which does open the floodgates for other major nations to pass the regulation so PayPal can add for the world. We also see this. Big names, bigger vision, PwC, major auditing firm, and SK Chain Advisors are building an enterprise-grade Web3 identity solution powered by World Mobile Chain. We know that World Mobile is a decentralized telecom network, mobile network, and this is how decentralization scales. This is how we reclaim control, taking the power away from the corporate telecom giants and putting it back in control of the people. So this is massive for the European Union. This is specifically PwC Italy, and the details are as follows. Blockchain consultancy SK Chain Advisors has announced a collaboration with PwC Italy to develop an EU digital identity solution built using blockchain-based self-sovereign identity technology. The solution will enable European enterprises and their customers to compliantly and securely access digital platforms. This is due in large part to the pro-crypto regulation that the European Union recently passed. The foundational basis for this work has been the thorough review of the ELDAS 2.0 regulation, which introduces the European Digital Identity Wallet for all citizens in the EU. And of course, if you're invested in World Mobile Token, you love this. The solution under development will be deployed on World Mobile Chain, the first Layer 3 protocol developed on the base network. The chain is designed for European enterprises operating within the digital ecosystem, as well as traditional businesses, and the SSI will streamline access for companies looking to leverage compliant identity solutions in the blockchain space. So World Mobile Chain progressing in the European Union. Also check this out. For those of you who follow us on X, link down below, you've seen this. You know, this could not be bigger. Just in, $6 trillion Fidelity launches crypto retirement plan for US adults. This is literally on Fidelity's website, Fidelity Crypto for IRAs, which are retirement accounts, a tax-advantaged way to invest directly in crypto. Their customers have over $6 trillion in funds, which now have this option. And if you're thinking, why isn't price higher? Why aren't my friends talking about this? Shouldn't more people understand this about Bitcoin?
Well, I guess it just takes time for people to figure things out. I wrote an article on Twitter or on X about this, and it's like people were kind of expecting the executive order calling for the creation of the SPR or creating the SPR would kind of kick things off right away. But I think your average man on the street doesn't have any idea what's going on. They're not following the developments. They're not following the news. They're not aware of anything. I think fund managers are probably more aware, but it takes time for them to also move and get things going and to set up the processes that allow them to buy. And that's why I think ETFs, MicroStrategy, and MicroStrategy derivatives are sort of a shortcut path to that. And that can allow people to get in much faster. But in general, it takes a lot of time to gear up and pass the laws that are needed to start the whole process. And unfortunately, most of the world is waiting for things to signify that it is time, or actually a better way to say it, to signify it's too late, because that's the point at which there is no career risk. And I think Harry was mentioning something like that, right? Like there is this concept of career risk, which is if you do something with Bitcoin, then you're at risk. But the inverse is starting to become the new norm, which is if you don't do something with Bitcoin, your career is at risk.
So we all watched the Bitcoin price have extreme volatility today, the day Donald Trump not announced, because we knew this was coming for months, but confirmed the April 2nd global reciprocal tariffs. Now, while this is signed today, it goes into effect on midnight. And this does seem to be the new normal. It's very interesting that we saw a bit of a fake out, Bitcoin pumping to around $88,700 above this downward trend line, which we've been following for about 3 months, and then immediately shooting down below it. And my stance on global tariffs are the same. Global tariffs are a tax, and tax on global trade in the short term suppresses global trade. It encourages countries to stick to themselves and not have the money in the system, but keep the money in their own countries. And less money in the system, in my opinion, is bad for risk assets. Now, you may make the case that Bitcoin is a hedge on the traditional system, and maybe Bitcoin will do great as all these countries now just put their own country first. Maybe that's rocket fuel on the Bitcoin price. That's an argument. But what I will say is altcoins, risk assets, it is worse for altcoins if there's less money in the system. So I think that's why we saw a risk asset like Bitcoin fake people out, but then immediately retrace. This is the normal we knew, that we have known about for the last 3 months. And what's interesting about this volume profile to the right is around, if you adjust this, this will adjust on its own. But around, if we just focus on the price point since this recent pump, around a $96,400, $500 Bitcoin is where the most transactions, the most buyers and sellers took place. Meaning that's really a big resistance for this Bitcoin profile. Now, I would say the other big resistance is, and we can just see this, we don't even need the volume profile to tell us, but massive transactions also took place around Bitcoin around 68, I would say low $70,000 Bitcoin, high $60,000 Bitcoin. So what this means to me as a Bitcoin holder, and again, link down below if you want to follow along, there's also up to $8,000 in trading bonuses if you're trading here with referral code Altcoin Daily. But if Bitcoin can break out of this downward trend, which we've seen for months, the next bigger resistance is around this $96,000. Until we pass $96,000, then there's no big excitement. Meaning, let's keep tabs on this. Let's check back in on this and see. And also, in the short term, of course, low $70,000 is the next line of support. I would expect trading in this range for the next multiple months. Also, I do just want to point out the largest Bitcoin conference on earth is happening this year in Vegas. My brother and I are speaking along with Michael Saylor, along with the Winklevi twins. We are speaking on the main stage as well, just like last year. Ticket prices are about to increase, so use code Altcoin Daily for 10% off your ticket. Link down below. Like always, see you tomorrow.